episode 62 of this and that and what the fuck else. And this one, I'm starting it off with a question, and you must make a decision. And there is items on the protests happening in Europe currently. I've got a bit of racist shit, and then there's a few items from Russia. And what the fuck is that? Will make you smile. I'm starting off with this one. Now, I think it will be safe to say that I shouldn't read everything on that image because it can be dangerous, but it's a question. And if you agree with what you see there, hit the like. That will be good for me. Thank you. And then we get to the protests. Ever since the start of the Russia-Ukraine war, Boris Johnson resigns, Biden historically unpopular, Macron loses majority and faces protest. Remember when the West said this conflict would be the end of Putin? Well, I remember that very well. But there's only a few names that he's mentioning here. There's more governments that are either on the brink or fast approaching the precipice. A protest in Cologne, Germany against sanctions and to resume energy ties with Russia. I am just afraid the Germans waited too long. You'll never see this picture of Prague citizens on your TV. Klaus knows that if images like this ever reach mainstream media, they will motivate and inspire the entire world, and the globalists will be finished. So resist. And that is a good piece of advice. And then we get to this one. It's not really news, it's just a suggestion. And I agree with it. Stem ze weg dese bedriegers. Vote these traitors out. But can they vote them out? I don't know. You can tell me in the comments if you think they can be voted out. Amsterdam. The people stand with their farmers against the WEF agenda. Keep going, in the end the people will decide. And I agree, the people will decide. The bloody problem is the fucking people is fast asleep. They sleepwalking into this nightmare. People all over Europe are starting to resist the NATO proxy war. Let's get out of NATO, shout tens of thousands of French people in the streets of Paris yesterday. And I agree with that. NATO should not be there. NATO is the big reason why Europe is in this shit now. And this was, to me, quite an eye-opener. Millions rally in support of Jair Bolsonaro, a man who refused to force the snake poison onto his citizens and rejected the dystopian policies of the World Economic Forum. Resist. And that is true. But fuck it, there's a lot of people there. A protest has begun in Moldova demanding the resignation of President Sandu. Representatives and supporters of the opposition party Shore came to the administration building of the head of state. And I've seen a few articles about Moldova. I don't know too much about Moldova. I should actually get myself better informed. But it looks like things are stirring there. But as I said previously, those Eastern European states, they better open their eyes. There's a reason why the old Europe has been supporting them financially so much. They are the ones that will be thrown into the meat grinder. Protesters in Moldova burn bills for gas and other utilities. All this is happening in front of the Sandu Presidential Administration building. Her resignation is demanded by the protesters. We will protest peacefully until the end, until she resigns and early presidential and parliamentary elections are scheduled, said the leader of the opposition party. I hope they achieve their goal. And then we get to this. This is just a meme, and it's from Thomas Sowell. More whites were brought as slaves to North Africa than blacks brought as slaves to the United States, or to the 13 colonies from which it was formed. White slaves were still being bought and sold in the Ottoman Empire, decades after blacks were freed in the United States. It's just a pity those racist IQ 70 keyboard warriors on social media cannot read with comprehension. And then we've got this from a Josie. Colonialism in Africa ended about 60 years ago. At that time, Singapore was dirt poor like African countries. Today, Singapore is one of the richest nations on earth, and Africa, where is it? Africans must leave Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II alone and look in the mirror. They'll see their problems. And again, it's a pity the IQ 70s cannot with comprehension. And then we have this. He left the farm with just a bicycle after being chased away from it. And now he employs them in another country because they failed to manage the farm where he was chased from. We need to force black people to self-introspect and take accountability for their actions. And once again, this will fall on deaf ears because these IQ 70s are incapable of reading with comprehension, and they are incapable of doing serious introspection. But they are suffering like hell. And then there's this. I've been to East Africa. While I was there, a friend of a friend, black, had her hotel business destroyed by people in her own community because they were envious of her. Friend told me how this is a constant facet of life there. They're trying to do to us on a mass scale. And this is unfortunately one of the problems that the black community is struggling with. The moment that somebody in that community starts excelling and bettering his life and raising above the masses, they go for him. Instead of looking and learning from him, they destroy him. But that is what barbarians do. And then we're in Russia. And this Kadyrov, we need to take note of this guy. He's from Chechnya. And he is, this ook is aggressive. No matter how much they call Stephen Bandera Mahatma Gandhi, he will not become one. Just as your mercenaries will not become prisoners of war. Russia cannot be defeated. Victory has always been, is and will be ours, as long as such brave warriors are fighting on our side. And that is a mouthful. And this ook, I've said it, is very aggressive. Lavrov. We now have to concentrate on securing our country and our relations with friendly nations. The vast majority of countries, accounting for 80% of the global population, are friendly to us from any whims of the West, both now and in the future. And what he is saying is true. And if you look at what's happening in the world, and you won't see it on the MSN, things are changing fast. Again from Kadyrov. USA is neither an aggressor country nor a terrorist country. It is the mother of aggression and international terrorism. And do not forget which country was the only one in the world to use nuclear weapons in war, and not against combat units, against civilian population. And that is the truth. And this warmongering America better do some serious introspection. They are fucked. There's no way they stand a chance of winning against the combined forces of Russia, China, North Korea, India, to mention a few. They will not survive. And Kadyrov again. Recent events have convinced us that these corrupt Western media, without evidence, without facts, without objective arguments, are spreading lies about our motherland, exposing Russia as an aggressor on whose territory human rights are not respected. This ook, he is very aggressive. And there's people that are suggesting that he should become the Minister of Defense for Russia. If that happens, NATO is fucked. Vladimir Putin. Who started the war in Iraq without permission from the United Nations? Who destroyed Yugoslavia under specious pretexts? Who did that? Who unleashed the war in the center of NATO by bombing Belgrade? No one remembered the principles of international law back then. And that is correct, and he is right, and the West will not respond. And then again, Kadyrov. Russia cannot be defeated even if the whole world turns against us. European leaders have made too many mistakes, and now is the time for them to pay for it. Russia opened a trap, the Ukrainians walked right into it, and the trap was closed. Guys, this ook is extremely agree. And then we get to that, what a fuck. This is actually a good one. You need to get the poison that doesn't work, so the poison I got that doesn't work will work. And the dog is drinking dumb fuck juice. I can only laugh, and that's it. But please hit the like, hit the subscribe, and share the thing. Thank you for your support.